Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving into a story that honestly plays out like a perfect cinematic romantic drama. We are going to trace the incredible journey of Emma and Daniel right from their very first meeting. There's some seriously tough relationship challenges, all the way to a reunion years later, and finally, a gorgeous sunset proposal. If you love a narrative about fate, ambition, and enduring love, you are absolutely going to love how this unfolds. So, let's start with a really big question. If two people are truly meant to be, will fate always find a way to bring them back together? That's the main engine driving this entire story. Today, we're figuring out if a profound emotional connection can genuinely survive the harsh realities of time, distance, and competing life goals. Let's get right into it. Act 1. The First Meeting. Before the sparks fly, we need to know who we're dealing with. On one hand, we have Emma. She's a super hardworking university student, really grounded and incredibly focused on her studies. And on the other hand, there's Daniel, a talented young photographer with a brilliant eye for the world and some massive creative ambitions. It's a classic setup, right? You've got the structured, dedicated student and the artistic, free-flowing observer, two completely different spheres of life. But fate has a funny way of making those spheres collide. Picture this, a rainy afternoon, a cozy, atmospheric bookstore, and they both reach for the exact same book at the exact same time. It is a textbook movie magic meet-cute. Just imagine the dramatic lighting, the sound of rain topping on the glass, and that instant electric spark of recognizing someone else's presence. They're total strangers right now, but man, the universe clearly has other plans. Act 2. Blossoming love. You've really got to notice the sheer insistence of fate here. It wasn't just that one bookstore meeting. Out of nowhere, they randomly bump into each other again at a coffee shop. Next thing you know, they find themselves hanging out at a bustling city festival. It's like the narrative flat out refuses to let them just walk away from that first encounter. They are constantly being pushed together, going from strangers to acquaintances, and then, very quickly, to something so much more. And this is where we see the real foundation of their relationship being built. It's way more than just a superficial attraction. We're talking about those highly cinematic shared moments, walking the city streets late at night, studying together, just laughing in cafes and watching these gorgeous sunsets. But crucially, they start supporting each other's dreams. Through these totally everyday activities, they discover shared fears and shared ambitions. Their friendship organically morphs into a really profound romantic love. It's basically a montage of perfect connection. Act 3. Relationship challenges. But right at the halfway point of our story, reality hits hard. Daniel receives this absolutely incredible, life-changing opportunity to move abroad for his dream career in photography. And wow, does this represent a universal modern dilemma? That painful, painful clash between chasing personal ambition and holding on to a deep romantic connection. This is the exact moment where their shared dreams suddenly pull them in two different geographic directions, completely shifting the vibe from a warm glow to a very tense, realistic conflict. Emma is completely torn, and it captures the absolute heartbreak of their situation perfectly. She genuinely wants him to follow his artistic dreams. I mean, these are the exact dreams they spend hours talking about in those late-night cafes. But internally, she harbors this deep, secret fear of losing him. It's an incredibly relatable, highly emotional internal struggle, and it puts a massive psychological strain on their entire bond. And unfortunately, the physical distance very quickly creates an emotional chasm. We see the severe strain of living apart, which naturally breeds a ton of uncertainty and these incredibly painful misunderstandings. They both experience deep, deep moments of loneliness. And the hardest part? They still love each other, but the timing and the circumstances are just entirely wrong. So, in a moment of devastating maturity, they make a mutual decision to separate so they can grow individually. It's that painful realization that sometimes love alone just isn't enough if the timing is off. Act 4. Years later. Fast forward a bit. That initial painful separation is followed by several crucial intervening years. And these years were marked by major individual growth and career success for both of them. They didn't just sit around waiting. They lived their lives, which makes the present day so incredibly powerful. Out of nowhere, they have a chance reunion at an art exhibition. It's like fate decided to step back in, but only after they both had the time to become fully realized versions of themselves. You've got to appreciate the beautiful symmetry here. Years later, Emma has achieved her ambition. She's now a successful writer. And Daniel? He's a well-known photographer. In fact, that art exhibition where they run into each other, it's actually a showcase of Daniel's own work. They became exactly who they always promised each other they would be. They completely conquered their ambitions. They just had to do it apart. And this brings us right to the emotional climax of the story. As they're standing there amidst Daniel's beautiful photography, falling back into those deep, heartfelt conversations, the realization just hits them. Their love never actually disappeared. All those emotions they had buried for years, they rushed back instantly. Their shared history, that profound understanding of each other's souls, it was all still perfectly intact, literally just waiting for the right moment to resurface. The grand finale, the sunset proposal. Now, handling a second chance like this requires some serious vulnerability. Through some incredibly heartfelt talks, they managed to forgive their past mistakes and all the pain of that separation. And this paves the way for our perfect Hollywood ending. Daniel proposes at sunset, overlooking the very city where they first met in that rainy bookstore. And I mean, of course she says yes. The story wraps up with these beautiful final cinematic frames of a wedding, starting a family, and just a deeply hopeful future together. Which brings us right back to where we started. Can true love ever really be erased by time and distance? Well, Emma and Daniel's story forcefully argues that no, it absolutely cannot. It shows us that sometimes separation isn't the end of a story, but merely a necessary chapter for individual growth before fate finally brings you back together. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope this deep dive into their journey sparked some thoughts for you, and I really can't wait to jump into our next topic together.